Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to Better Out Loud Live. We are so excited to have you. Yay! Oh, good morning from San Francisco. Thank you for waking up early.
Damn, girl.
So for those that I don't know, my name is Kylie Stamm and I'm the host of Better Out Loud, which is a podcast I started last fall actually. And it's fun to go back and listen if you're interested and you like what you hear today. But the general gist and inspiration behind it was it's dedicated to my late best friend, Abby, who passed away in 2018, which is bizarre to think about in a lot of ways. But she was someone who loved really big and out loud is how I would describe it. And so a lot of what I learned about relationships and loving other people came from my connection to her and a lot of my other very amazing loved ones in my life. So this podcast is just about telling stories about the ways in which people love on each other, nurture their relationships, take care of themselves, and the many ways that we can do that. And the hope is that you feel a little bit more equipped to love on everyone in your own world, including yourself, a little bit better after you listen. So what's really exciting is this is the first time we're doing a live, thanks COVID-19, I guess. But I'm really excited because there's no one more special and perfect to do this with than my former roommate, now bestie for life, Renna. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Renna Wirchin. Hey.
Yeah. Everyone. Thank you, Kylie. I'm so excited to be here. Finally.
I know. Yeah, we have a lot to explain about how we got to this point and how Renna was always going to be a part of it. But I wanted to give Renna a chance to introduce herself just to start, and then we'll kind of jump right in. So, Ren, want to talk a little bit about you, where you are, what you're up to?
Well, currently I am in my studio apartment in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am originally from New York, Long Island. And I, of course, went to JMU where Kylie and I met and met a bunch of our wonderful, amazing friends. And I moved to Philadelphia about 6 years ago to pursue my master's in social work. It's crazy. I feel like I just moved here, but it's been 6 years.
When you said 6 years, I was like, I think that's a lot.
You know, I know it's wild, but it's 6 years ago, moved here, didn't know really anybody at all. I started my master's in social work, graduated with that. Now I'm a social worker in a neonatal intensive care unit, North Philly. So essentially working with families while their little ones are critically ill or in the NICU for some time. And it's a really special job, and I really love what I do. I as you know, we can see here, I paint it forward is a huge part of my life too, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I'm just kind of starting into the whole small business owner role, which has been super exciting. I just can't wait to, like I said, jump in because I know that this has been a long time coming. And I don't know.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I remember that I wanted to do a morning cheers with everybody because we wanted to share what's in our cup.
Yes.
So
it's very important.
Yeah, everyone take out your mug that you were supposed to bring. Okay, I'm actually going to tell a funny story that I've never told any of my friends. So some people know that I play this video game, Animal Crossing. And but there's this really cute thing that happens, and I think this is a result of isolation. I literally can't believe I'm telling this story, but it will make sense. So there's this thing, whenever you like go into a neighbor's house, there's like these cute little animals and you visit the neighbors. And anytime you leave the house, they stop what they're doing and they wave to you. And I don't know why I started doing this, but like I caught myself a few times at my house, like I will like wave back at them. Like I'll be like, bye, bud.
So you got your friends somewhere when this is a hard time.
I know. Look, I'm just saying it's a little lonely. So all that to say, I thought it would be fun if we all did a group cheers at the same time so you could feel like you had some buds around with you. So please hold up your favorite mug and bring it in for a group cheers.
Cheers. Can I share a little bit about this mug? Because it's
please.
important.
I would love for you to.
So this is my Life is Good mug. As you can see, it's purple, my favorite color, but one of my best friends, Jen, she has the same one in blue. And at JMU, for any of those who went to JMU, understand the importance of tea time that we had every, I guess it was Wednesday, some day of the week at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I don't know, time is a long time. But we always would have our personal tea times, me and Jen, and we'd always grab our special mug and the same mug. And now she has it where she is in Arlington, and I have it here in Philly. And so every morning I have my coffee, and today it's tea, which I know I broke our own rule, but
it's okay. It was drink
new, you know. Yeah, so I'm thinking of Jen today, a very special friend of mine, and every morning she's with me. So
glad.
That's my mug.
And what flavor tea do you have?
It's like a citrus orange tea.
Okay.
I never was a tea drinker ever, like truly never. And I love coffee. So it's a little bit surprising, but we're trying something new. You know, quarantine is doing weird things to us.
I know. I know. I actually this is one of my oldest mugs and my favorite ones. I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan. Some people know that. And so I collect like very large coffee mugs, which is a signature thing from the show. And it's really sweet. I think my dad got me this mug. He's definitely a supporter of my Gilmore Girls obsession.
I support it. It's very big.
And I'm cheating. It's actually iced coffee in there. Do what you want. That's the moral of the story today. So thanks everyone for cheersing with us. Enjoy your drink, snuggle in. We have a really exciting episode coming in. I just wanted to acknowledge that it's kind of been a tough time, you know, kind of navigating COVID-19, people who are still out working, people who are transitioning completely to being home and reimagining what, you know, work can look like, or temporarily being away from work and trying to support family and, you know, navigating health issues. Like there's just so much going on. So I just want to say thanks for carving out an hour of your morning to spend it with us. And maybe there's some feel good that will come out of this time. So like I said, no better person to bring on to this. And the way I usually introduce the person who I'm interviewing and my guest for the day is by my own letter that I have written and will share out loud. And the whole concept behind letters out loud really stemmed from just practicing saying things to people that you love. You know, I think I've had a lot of conversations with people in my life who, you know, just feel a certain way, or like will talk about other people and how much they mean to them, but sometimes it's hard to like say it to that person, or to take the time to write a letter or to call them and, you know, you spend time with someone, but actually telling them why they're important to you and why they matter. It can go a long way. So that's part of it. And it's something that you practice. It's something that I practice. I don't always do it or do it well. So this has been helping me a lot too. So this is my letter to Renna. Oh, and one more important thing I should say is that we call each other Crittas.
Very important.
Just happened. Our third Crittas is here watching as well. But it's a nickname from being roommates in college that I actually jumped onto. I was not one of the original Crittas.
We don't remember that time.
It'll just happen. Yeah. Thank you, Courtney, in the comments. Okay. Okay. My dearest Critta bud, I'm smiling ear to ear that we're together today. I don't remember the moment we met, but I remember knowing who you were first. You were spotted at a JMU Safe Rides meeting as someone I had to meet. Lucky for me, we ended up on the same service trip for spring break, and what a way to meet you. In your full natural habitat of service, authentic service to others. I knew your spirit then. Throughout college, I continued to grow in love and admiration for the way you so thoughtfully and purposefully loved others. You remained committed to service. You literally spread sunshine. But what I appreciated the most was that you could meet me and others in darkness too. That's the power of your authenticity and presence. And all of those things remain true to you today. So all of the road trips, vacations, and weddings, these adventures with you, I've learned always consist of 4 key components, and usually in this order. 1, tiptoeing in with check-ins and then avalanching into a heart-to-heart to identify what's heavy and going on. 2, a new and exciting creative brainstorm session. which has led to many projects that we'll talk about today. 3, uncontrollable belly laughs. And 4, something absurd that stresses me out in the moment, but then we laugh about it for eternity. Thank goodness we've had so many weddings and road trips to reinforce this recipe, and honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. You have so many gifts. You are creative and talented and brilliant. You are compassionate and understanding and strong. You are thoughtful, purposeful, and loving. I'm so proud of you, businesswoman and creative Critta collaboration. You are my Critta, and I'm so excited to share you with my world. I love you.
Oh God. The problem with this being live is that you have the face that you make when you're hearing people say beautiful things. Critta, that was so sweet.
So hopefully folks feel like they learned a little bit about you, but obviously they're going to get a lot more. So we're going to jump in. I kind of just wanted to ask, how have you been doing?
You know, it's been such a weird time, I think, for everybody and everyone. While every day looks so different for everybody, I think a lot of it also looks very much the same, right? A lot of us are home. A lot of us are trying to find what we can do in our own little environments to keep ourselves busy and sane. Personally, it's been, you know, each day kind of comes and goes. I think I'm trying to take the approach of day by day, because doing anything more than that is just too difficult. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, I am working still in the hospital, but also I'm home some. So kind of going back and forth can be a little challenging emotionally, and just, you know, physically. I think everywhere you go, you're so aware of yourself now that it gets to be really exhausting, and it gets to be a lot on your mind, and it's getting harder to remember to be mindful, but in the same sense, it's also such a reminder to take care of yourself, whether it's like a run. I've been trying to keep myself active, or you know, just talking with friends and being present, you know, virtually. It's just reminding me just how much more important it is to remain connected, because, you know, I know both of us right now are alone, you know, kind of isolated alone and doing our best to just be our best friends, but and it's going well, honestly. I'm getting to know myself real well in this whole situation. And I find myself, as an introvert and extrovert, I would say that this is like somewhat nice some of the time. And I've heard a few friends think that way, where it's like a nice opportunity to kind of have your space and not worry about missing out or feeling like you should be doing something that you don't really want to be doing. But in the same sense, I miss my people. I miss my family. There's a lot of exciting things going on in my family right now. And I it's really hard not to be there for everything. But and I miss my people. I miss my friends. I'm such a hugger, and
yes,
Critta needs a hug. Let me just tell you. This Critta needs a hug. But no, I think I'm just trying to stick with it day by day. You know, it's been so weird. And I'll say, in a weird way too, I do feel like it's somewhat restoring my faith in humanity. Like, not somewhat, like it really is. I'm seeing so much kindness and so much love pour into people that we haven't seen in a very long time. And that feels really good. So yeah, that's just a little bit of like,
I know.
It's every day.
Yeah. Well, I asked partially because obviously it's what's happening right now, but also because we're going to talk about, you know, how to move through the world with purpose, generally speaking. And I think it would be hard for us not to acknowledge like what's happening now too. So just feel free, as we're having conversations, please know that you can kind of speak across time. So normally in life, and then kind of what's going on right now. But I always like to start from the beginning. So I actually wanted to jump back in time a little bit to young Critta and just ask, how did you learn about relationships and sort of develop your own philosophy on how you connect with people?
Yeah. Wow. I think, well, I ultimately, first and foremost, I have been blessed with the most incredible family and the most supportive, loving group of people to just raise me and just be there for me every step of the way. My parents are incredible, and I'm so fortunate my mom's watching, so yes, Mom, I love you. And
Echo these sentiments. Renna comes from a fantastic family.
yes, the sentimentality is fully them, so I blame them for that, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah, I did grow up with a very strong sense of community. At my synagogue growing up, you know, my family, my extended family, everybody really, I felt very nurtured growing up, and I think that's where I got a lot of like my safety, and how I poured into people was I learned so early on. But growing up, you know, I think as much as I had this support network of people that I knew would be there, I still started to learn on my own in like middle school, elementary school, even like later in elementary school, middle school, high school, just how hard it would be to remain true to who you are based on all the factors that are at play around you. I had a really hard time, I remember, from 5th grade up with bullying, and people were just really not nice, and they just, you know, you see it all over now. We know it's a huge issue everywhere you look. Cyberbullying, physical bullying, whatever, everything is, unfortunately, I think it's just, you know, still such a part of our present, you know, world. But when I think about where I was at that point, you know, now I realize how much it shaped who I was, because you know, there were so many moments where I had to tap into myself, even though I didn't really know it at the time, to, you know, remember, hey, this is who you are. You were brought up knowing what a good friend is, and how to be kind, and how to be sensitive, but being challenged, but still, I mean, even knowing that, you know, you think back and you realize that there's just so much to learn the hard way, in a way. And like I said, still with knowing that you have people to lift you up, it just got really, it was hard. So, yeah, with all that said, I think I learned a lot about being intentional in relationships, and how to be a good friend, and what a good friend looked like, because I had been through, not all bad, you know, I had so many wonderful friendships, and that are still with me today, that I care about so deeply, that I'm even more grateful for now, I think, than I obviously could realize at the time. But, you know, I think it just is a testament to what person I've become, is so much related to the hardship that I had to go through, you know, as a younger girl, just kind of navigating it. But like I said, never alone, just having to kind of figure it out on your own, in the times where it was just too hard to kind of, I don't know, deal with it. And that really has just taught me so much about, like I said, being intentional with your words, with your actions, not perfect in any way, but I'm fortunate for what I've gone through, because I think ultimately it's just kind of helped me become me, and teach me the lessons that I'm grateful I learned early on, in life. Yeah, that's a little bit about young Critta.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. I know it's so hard for me to imagine, I mean, anyone getting bullied, but I know that we've all, you know, I think a lot of people navigated that, and I can't picture it, because I know you, and I know you so well. But I also know how much that has informed the way you move through the world now, and the way you want to make sure you love people really well. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I was hoping that you could talk a little bit more about, you know, I often ask people, how do you define intentionality, you know, and where do you get inspiration to find ways of being intentional and purposeful with people in your life? And you can give examples if you'd like.
Absolutely. So, wow. So, well, being intentional, what that means to me is not being afraid to just tell someone how you feel, and just being very mindful of the actions you're taking and making. And I think for me personally, a lot of the ways that I do that, or be intentional, is sometimes, as you probably know, sometimes when I get excited or I have emotions, I like ramble and it don't make much sense. But with that said, words are really important to me, and I think words are really powerful. And so when I get the chance to write a letter or a note, it helps me process what I'm feeling, so I can really get out what I want to say. And that's a way that I like to be intentional with people. I think I love a good handwritten letter, good snail mail. But I think it just, and in the sense of, yes, what you're reading and what you're getting, but also in the sense of sending that physical, or sending that alone, or even texting your friend saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. You know, that's an intentional decision you're making to let somebody know that you're there and you care and you're checking up. And whenever I've gotten that in return, it's always made a huge difference. When, you know, sometimes it happens when you just need it most, but didn't even know it. And you think, you know, just the importance of remaining connected. And I think in our day and age now, it's a lot harder to be intentional in that way because there's so much going on and we just get busy, but all the more reason to kind of slow down and remember to just like reach out to your people and be there and check in, because I know how special it is, you know, when I get that.
And you are really good at it. And I feel like I have been fortunate I wanted to share a couple of like examples, if that's okay, because I think you're selling yourself a little short. But you know, well, first of all, I think you and another one of my best friends, like every year always sends like mail for Valentine's Day, which I just think is so sweet and thoughtful. And yeah, particularly because I, you know, have been single, and so it's not something that's like really on my spirit, but I love that you take the opportunity to like love on people in that way, you know. And so that, even that doesn't go unnoticed, that's on my fridge. But, and so I appreciate it. And but I think one of the more salient examples that I might have shared on a previous episode actually, without naming and attributing it to you specifically, you know, I mentioned at the beginning that this whole project was inspired by my late best friend, Abby. And I think one of the most meaningful things that anyone did actually after she passed was a care package that you sent me. And here's how thoughtful it was. We were going to the beach to celebrate and honor her birthday. That was a few weeks after she passed away, and celebrate New Year's, which was our holiday that we love to celebrate together. So it was just a tough week and a tough time and a very Abby forward time, which I wanted it to be, you know. And yeah, Renna sent me a package to open on Abby's birthday. And I just thought, you know, there are layers to how thoughtful and purposeful that was. You know, there was an ornament in the shape of popcorn that was Abby's favorite snack. I still have that on display in my house. And there are things for me too. There's a little can to make my own snow, because Renna and I love snow and our snow buddies. And that's what I mean. It's just, honestly, it could have been a box of like tissues or something. And I would have been like, this is so thoughtful. But it was, you know, but I just that you thought of me, and really that you thought of her, and like knew that it would be important to honor her. You know what I mean? I really appreciate that level of thoughtfulness. And, you know, it's one of the sweetest things that anyone, you know, has done for me. And, you know, I just feel like it probably came very natural to you to walk around a store and be like, oh, this, you know what I mean? And like, I have shared many times, I have a really hard time with care packages. I do weird things like I consider myself an intentional person, but not through the form of gift giving. It's just not my strength at all. So, you know, I just, you know, thank you. And I think, I hope that adds a little bit of extra, I guess, to what you've already said about how you are purposeful, because I think that example captures you really well. And I'm just lucky.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, I just think like I said, I've been so fortunate to have the same love given to me in return, that I know how special it is when you just can feel alone. Like you said, you know, it's kind of single, doing this thing on your own, living in a big city. Mm-hmm. You know, it can be, it's wonderful in so many ways, but some days you just need a little extra reminder that like, hey, you know, you're loved, like I know you're there. And I get that, like, believe me, I get that. But yeah, I think I just know that how special it is. And mm-hmm. I'm grateful that I could, you know, give something in a time that was obviously, you know, no words can do justice, but you know, yeah, I think gift giving, I mean, I feel like I probably span every.
I was going to say, we're about to segue, so we might as well. It's time to talk about love languages. It's time to talk about how we always talk about how people give and receive love. And I guess we just started to do a little preview on that. So I want to start, I mean, we talked about how you give love some, but honestly, I know you have been excited for this moment, so the floor is yours.
Tell everyone, we're all friends here. I told Kylie that I guess we'll get into it later, but how much of a fan I am of this podcast from day one, before it was born. But I would listen on like long car rides, and I would, I would just like on the way to work, like trips, to Virginia during wedding season. Every time I was in the car, I had a moment. I put on an episode, and I would just listen to the part, well, all of it, of course, but the part about love language. I did. I promise. I'm a better out loud, and you all should be too. But I remember the part about love languages would come up, and I was always favorite part. I always loved listening to how people give love, and what that looks like for them. And so I would just have these moments of like when I was, at home, or like hanging out, where I'd just be like pretending that I was on your podcast. I'd be like, this is what I would say if it was the love language question and I had to answer it myself. I had so many answers I wanted to give and just talk back to people. So anyway, that's the backstory.
It's your time.
Very excited. No pressure. No, it's actually really funny and fitting that we're doing this at a time of quarantining, because love languages are just giving love, receiving love, all that is just so heightened and so much more important right now, I think, for everyone than ever before. And so I would say, yeah, I think I am intentional, and I give love by words, whether it's snail mail, whether it's, I definitely think gifts, as kind of you touched on, I love anything handmade, which I guess is kind of look where we are, but I love handmade gifts. I love creating things that are personal for people and just sending them as a little surprise, or whatever, birthdays, whatever it may be. I'm a huge fan of that. And I just think there's something so special about, just being able to pick out the perfect little something, or create the perfect little something that just speaks volumes to that person or that relationship that you share with them. So I definitely think that's a big way that I give love. I also think that, so physical touch is an interesting one, because it's 100% how I receive love. Like that is like when I think like when I've done the love language test before, it's been words and physical touch for how I receive. And now more than ever, it's really so clear how much I love physical touch and how important it is. And I know some people actually really truly, and for all normal valid reasons, do not appreciate that, or hugs, or anything. And I'm learning, for anyone watching, if I've hugged you and been very excited to hug you because I love you and you're not ready for it, I apologize. But no, I think right now it's just, it's so much more crucial to just remember that when this is all over and we can all be together again, I think it's going to show up in so many different ways of how physical touch, and being not just like touch, but like being together in the same room is so important.
100%.
For feeling love and feeling loved, and giving love in return. But yeah, I miss my hugs, man. I miss people. I miss hugging.
I miss your hugs, honestly. And I don't like hugging everybody.
Wow.
I'm like medium for physical touch.
I feel like I know that, but I also like disregard it whenever we're together. So
I think you broke that barrier immediately. Because that's usually what actually has to happen for me, is like somebody else will likely, like, just without realizing it, break the barrier, and I'm like, oh, we hug, okay, great.
We're at that point, we're there.
Yeah. And so I mean, I don't remember a time that we weren't hugging, so I miss it.
I know I do miss it. But I definitely receive love that way. And like I said, with words, I love a good letter. I love, like I said, even just a little, hey, thinking about you, love you.
Well, I can't think of a more perfect time to talk about your creations and your business, because I think that when you talk about, writing and expressing through words and words of affirmation, to me, it's the epitome of what you've created. So I would love if you could tell everybody about Paint It Forward.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much. So Paint It Forward, wow, where do I begin? So
I know. Well, actually, someone submitted a question that might help start it off.
Oh, the questions, how exciting.
I know. Well, I'll save them for the end, but it was nice. It was, how did you decide to get started? with your creative side and business outlets, and how did you start? So maybe start there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for prompting. So I would say I've always been a creative person. I always have dipped into theater, dance, music. That has always been where I felt just the happiest. You know, that's always been a big part of my life. My whole family's life, actually, we're all very musical. We're very creative in this way. And I think I get a lot of that from my family, but I've always been that way. I've always loved that. But I think, so I've always, like I said, I've always been more of like, it's more entertaining, it's more performing, it's more dancing. But in grad school, I would say, honestly, I mean, I always loved doing like painting and cards, and art class was like my favorite class of every school year. But I think it was really in grad school when I had a lot more time on my own. I just started to kind of develop this excitement for watercolors and paint, and color has always been a big, like, I've always loved colors and, decorating and, in my dorm room in college, everyone would come and be like, whoa, like a rainbow like threw up in here. And I think that's probably very accurate. But yeah, it's always been something that I was drawn to. I was inspired by colors and just positive quotes and things like that. So when grad school came and I was kind of on my own, I just kind of dipped into watercolors and writing out quotes like in different different handwriting and stuff, because quotes are just, I mean, there's huge fan of quotes.
I'm crying that you just said dipped into watercolor, and
oh my god, I did not even. I'm shocked.
I just know you love.
I love puns. I'm shocked.
Carry on.
Thank you so much.
It's just part of who you are. We got it.
I meant to do that.
She dipped into watercolor, everybody.
I dipped in. I just brushed on through. Okay, no, too much. Okay, so yeah, so I started kind of watercolors and lettering, and I just watched YouTube videos, and I got so inspired by watching that. And then it wasn't until so I started working. I work at a craft shop called Paper Source. I'm now
Paper Source.
Yeah, shout out, because great, if you haven't been, we're all over the nation, so you definitely gotta check one out. But yeah, I kind of on a whim got this holiday position during the year after grad school. I was still navigating first job and things like that, and it was when I look back at it, it was one of the best decisions I could have made, because it completely and truly is my experience there is the reason why I've become a calligrapher and become an artist, and I a small business owner in this way. And I owe that all to, the courses we taught there, and kind of learning the ins and outs in the beginning. And then I just kind of loved it and took it from there, and kept watching YouTube and kind of self-taught myself how to hand letter, and kind of created my own style and watercolor. But there were definitely moments where still, like I'm learning, and I'm inspired by so many calligraphers and hand lettering artists that I still watch and drool over on YouTube videos over and over, because it's just beautiful and soothing, and it's incredible to see your own handwriting come to life. I think that's what I love the most about it.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
What is Paint It Forward?
Yes, so that's so all that to say, in grad school, originally, this is an OG name for Paint It Forward. This is the truth here. It was called Stories by the Heart, and art of heart was going to be bolded, very bold. Yeah, I
love, actually.
Yeah, that was it, and that was the start of it. And I wanted to express people's stories and people's experiences through art and color and lettering. And fun fact is, actually, while it was Stories by the Heart in grad school, I created a challenge that was actually called, I'm actually remembering this for the first time, like right now, but it was called the Paint It Forward Challenge, because I came up with this name, Paint It Forward, of like, wow, that's a pun, number one, as we know, I love. But also, Paint It Forward was always a huge part of, I was always inspired by that movement. I learned that at JMU as an organization called Friends of Rachel that really was, it was this creation of this movement of random acts of kindness, and Dave Herr, who was the club advisor, and he was just such an inspiration to me, and he always believed in the Paint It Forward movement, and that was a huge part of my life from my time at JMU, and so I couldn't help think this is how fitting it was that this was what it was going to be called. And from that moment on, it just kind of snowballed into, if it's painted forward, it must be that, you know, and I want it to be that it's something that just creates good and happiness and joy, and just through lettering and through art. And I started just, it kind of just took off from there. I think, I honestly think I just became constantly inspired. Every moment of every day that I have free time, I'm thinking about the next thing I want to make or do, or what quote I love, or what times we're in, or what, you know, it's just been, yeah, it just kind of snowballed. And then I really have to, I do owe so much of what Paying It Forward has become today, like the full, I guess, yeah, business of it, to my people. Honestly, I think without the constant people in my life who are just saying, this is really beautiful, or this is really meaningful, or this means a lot to me, or can you make this for my friend's family member who's sick, or can you make this for my wedding? You know, it just, it was amazing. And it just, it took me by full surprise, because I never in a million years would think that I'd be here. But I'm so grateful for all of those people who very early on in the beginning just believed in this mission, and saw beauty in what I was doing. And yeah, I really, it's been incredible. And I there's something too that I've also learned now that I've been in it for, so I officially, I guess in October this past year, launched my website, launched my Etsy shop. And that was a labor of love, but yeah, that was super exciting, and a very long time coming. Very, very long time. I think I talked about Etsy shop opening up in like October of 2016 when I first my first Instagram post for Paying It Forward. And yeah, but I'm grateful for where I am now. Had to go through all that to get here. But I think back to that point where it was so just new and exciting. And now it's just become something bigger than I could have expected. And yeah, and it's still, you know, there's something too about, I've learned through the calligraphy community and the hand lettering community, which is so big and so wonderful. And everyone's just, it's such an encouraging community of people. And I'm sure, as you know, as a creative yourself, I can imagine, like with podcasts, whatever, like everything, I know how creative you are. Like you find people, and that you just can, you know, connect with them on such a different level. And what I've heard so much in the calligraphy community is community over competition. And I love that, because for so long and early on, like in the past few months when I was first starting out, like more of the business side of things, I kept comparing myself, and I kept saying like, oh, that person's doing this amazing thing, or they had that incredible idea that I was trying to like figure out a way, but they got it first, you know, and that's not even what it's about. Like, it's amazing, but when you really look back and think, yes, it's completely true. It's so much more of a community than it is about getting ahead or a competition, because it's about real people, real stories, real creations that you're creating handmade. Real stories, real relationships. Shout out to Better Out Loud, your tagline.
Renna just quoted my tagline. I'm so happy.
As we said, I have been very much a fan of this podcast from day one.
No, I mean, there's so much truth to it. And I think, you know, a conversation that comes up a lot that I love your perspective on is around all of our, you know, there's a lot of people on here who are really creative in their own ways, have their own gifts and talents. And I think a really difficult discussion that comes up a lot is, you know, sometimes people want to move this route towards like, I want to start a small business, or I want to do, you know, or look to monetize it, or some of those things. And other people are like, I just want my beautiful hobby to stay my beautiful hobby, you know, and, or whatever. So what advice would you have for people who are in the middle space where they're like, I think I'm pretty talented and I love what I do, and I've never really thought about it, you know, like what would you say? Because I know we both have been there and had those conversations together.
Yes, many times. Great conversation. Great question. It's also a great conversation, but a great question. First, I do want to touch on what you just said about, you know, the sales, like you're, you know, like trying to create a business versus like, not versus, but in addition to still maintaining your hobby. And I would say for those people who just love doing art for art, or whatever your creation or way of being creative is, and if you just love doing that for you, do it for you, because that is so important. And that's where it started for me. And I loved it so much that I just wanted to kind of, and I wanted to make it something a little different, a little bit more, because that's the route I wanted to take. But for those who are like, I just love baking, I love crafting, I love doing yoga, I love running. Like, just do it, because I mean, we all got to get through, you know. And if you find something that that you love, do it. Because, and I say that because I think I learned the hard way. Because when I first started out Paint It Forward, again, more so in October when it became like more of like a business piece, I got so, I think, streamlined into just, you know, this is a business. I want to thrive. I want to, like I said before, I knew about the whole community piece. I wanted to, you know, sell and be proud of the numbers going up and all these things that I felt detached from it. Honestly, I felt like something was off and I couldn't figure out what it was, but I wasn't finding myself as passionate or excited. I went to bed super late. I always go to bed super late, but I found myself staying up late finishing projects for people that I just, you know, were excited to finish, but I just felt like my fire was burning low, and I was spreading myself so thin, and I felt it, and I wasn't the happiest, and I wasn't at the same place that I was at when I first started. And so it's actually taken, and then, you know, there are certain projects that I'd be more excited about where I'm like, is that the reason why I'm like, this is obviously why I'm more excited about this than I would be about this certain project, because it's like pulling something out of you. It's like, it's becoming more, it's just speaking more truthfully to who you are and why you created it. And remembering my why was challenging at first, but now it's crystal clear. And I really owe that all to quarantine, honestly. I have learned through this process of being on my own how important it is to just tap back into the things that bring you joy. And I've done so many things with watercolors and lettering for me, only for me, in many months. And it's completely changed, you know, how I perceive it. And it's taught me a huge lesson. So I'm grateful for that. And, you know, I'm working on some projects right now. Shameless plug, launch happening soon. You never know. But there will be something coming out soon, or maybe, you know, one or two things that I'm working on right now that just are speaking more volumes to why I started this and where my passion for this started. And it's in spreading kindness and love through words and art. And that's it. And that's simple. And so I, like I said, kind of going back to your question, if you're, you know, questioning if you should be doing this for, if you're stressed about, should I do this for me or for more? Do what feels right, because like I said, I've learned a lot about the importance of remembering why you got started in the first place, and not letting what you think is best or what you think you should be doing take over what you want to do and what brings you joy. So
I appreciate your perspective a lot. And I know that's a conversation we've had so many times. And there's not a right answer by any means, but I appreciate the idea of recentering with yourself. And I think it kind of flows from there. It's funny because a lot of it surprises me, a lot of people when they find out, you know, I have a little Etsy shop or, you know, podcast or whatever. A lot of people ask me almost immediately, like, do you make money from it? Or like, and the Etsy shop, like, oh, do you like, how's that going? Like, is that going like really well? You know, and with podcasting, same thing. And it's so bizarre because the podcast, especially, I was like, oh no, like if 2 people listen to this and are moved by it, it is partially just for me, you know, and then it's an added bonus if anyone else in the world is moved or inspired in some way. You know what I mean? And so that has been helpful. My Etsy shop started also in grad school because I was trying to raise money to study abroad. And fun fact, I used to decorate wooden letters, and I think I've told this story before, but I think my friend Catherine, who taught me how to decorate the letters, is actually on here. Shout out to Catherine. Yeah, and I just remember in college she taught me how to like Mod Podge, you know, decorative paper on wooden letters, and I was trying really hard to figure out a way to raise money to go on a study abroad trip, and it actually really did help me go. And then I like, you know, and then I just kept doing it, and it was like a small low-key thing. And so I still have a shop now, but it is more for the purpose of helping to spread the mission. And I have a lot of like cards and postcards that like help teach people how, or, you know, encourage people to like spread love and messages. But it's not, you know, I have a full-time job and I'm very fortunate, and I think that will stay my source of income for a long time. But so I think that there are different ways that looks. But so I know we're like dabbling in like, small business owners, which is awesome. But we're also talking a lot about how it ties into relationships. And so one of the final questions I always like to ask people, you've touched on some of these things already, but is around challenges, right? So you love so big and beautifully, and with purpose. I know that there are a lot of challenges that come with relationships and even being someone who loves so big. So I just wanted to ask, if you'd be comfortable sharing, what are some of the challenges, generally speaking, that are really salient to you as you navigate relationships with purpose, and of course, during COVID-19, I mean, we can't escape that influencing part of it too. But what would you say?
Well, I think there are two big things that I've learned so much of. So two big, lessons that I've learned, I guess, from through the hard way when it comes to relationships. I think one of those is that if a relationship is making you feel like you are trying so hard and you are spreading yourself so thin, just trying to make the other person notice or listen or just reciprocate that friendship or that reminder that, hey, I'm here too. It gets really exhausting, and it can be really hard to keep pouring yourself into people who, for lots of reasons, not because they may be mean to or because they are intentionally doing that, but that just don't necessarily reciprocate that same feeling of, hey, you're really special to me and you're really important to me, and I see your worth, and our time is something that I treasure and cherish. I went through a lot of those, I don't want to say empty friendships, but empty relationships. And like I said, like I was talking about a little bit before, in middle school and high school, and those are, kind of younger relationships that you learn so much, of course, more as you grow up and go to college and just become a young adult and go off after college and whatever that may be. But you really learn what a real good friendship looks like and what a true friendship looks like. And I learned so much from not having a lot of those growing up, and having an abundant amount of incredible, beautiful people join my life later on in college and after college, like I said, and still, like I said, maintain those friendships that I had from childhood and my family. But I really saw the difference in how those people saw me and how I felt. If I felt full, my cup was full after hanging out with them, or it was a conversation that just left me feeling better, those are the relationships that I now look for and strive for, because it's just not worth pouring yourself into people that just can't and don't want to or aren't able to, pour themselves back. And like I said, it's not a matter of, that being something wrong, but it's just some people are put in your life and they're just there for some time. They teach you something and then you learn from there. So I think that that's a big lesson I learned growing up, and that I take with me now from a challenge, was that, if you find yourself trying so hard and spreading yourself so thin just to make someone notice, it might not be the best relationship to maintain, and that's okay. And with that said, the second thing I would say in conjunction with that is that it's okay to let go of those people, and it's okay for that to change. Because let me tell you, it continues to be very hard for me. I have a very hard time letting go of friendships and relationships that don't pour into you the same way. And I went through, I would say, yes, when I was younger, but a few as I was older, especially after college, you kind of, you have all these wonderful friendships and you meet people from every direction, and, you love those people and you pour into them when you can and when time allows. But then when you are away, when you're moved, when you've started a new job, who are going to be the people that still tap into you and you still want to call at the end of a hard day? And yes, you can have acquaintances, that's okay. But I could not see that clearly at the time. And I still have, like I said, I still struggle because I want to pour in. I love people. I love feeling like people you want to be around. It's just, natural feelings come out and you're like, well, why is it so hard? and letting go of that. I've gone through like maybe not heartbreak in the sense that most people think of heartbreak, but I think heartbreak in the sense of losing some friendships or losing what was of some friendships that were really hard to go through. But then they change and you make new ones, and you learn such incredible things about yourself through the process. And yeah, so yeah, I think that's the two biggest things. I think that's the only other thing I could say. I feel like I'm going on and on about this, but it's a big question.
Yeah, what's hard about relationships go?
Yeah, everything's great. I know no, but I would say that I also think one of the challenges that other people may, I imagine relate to is that sometimes, well, in general, absolutely quality over quantity, right? It's so much more about the person and the depth of a relationship rather than how many you have. Mm-hmm. And I think I always knew that, but in college and in even, mostly in college, I think I learned because, again, there were so many people that you were meeting and so many people that you wanted to get to know. And this 4 years, like, you have this kind of limited time, and, and I just wanted to be around people all the time. I didn't want to sleep. I never slept. I was a called carrier queen.
Blackberry, always did.
Blackberry. My Blackberry was dead. Not the Blackberry code.
Raise your hand if you had a Blackberry.
And I still miss it. I'm raising my hand for those who can't see me. Every single no, I learned, I think that I just spread myself, like I said before, spread myself thin trying to connect, and I lost sight of the fact that I wasn't even maybe making the deepest connections, because I was just trying to not pretend that I was friends with everyone and that I was wanting to be connected to everyone that I knew and had that as a part of who I was, but more so because I truly wanted to connect with people, and I truly wanted to use up all this time and energy on people. And that, I think, got misconstrued a few times from people, and that was hard for me. There was some judgment. I felt a little bit of judgment sometimes from folks who just thought that I was just doing that because I wanted to be liked by everyone, and I think that's a lot of us go through that, where we just, sometimes that is the case, and that's okay, because I definitely was that person in high school. I wanted to be liked by everybody, so I just fit into these pockets of groups of people that I didn't really identify with. But remembering that happened to yourself at the end of the day, I think, and what works for you and who you are as a person, and who values that and who loves you for that person and doesn't ask you to be anybody other than that person, are the people that are worth devoting that time to and really spending that time with.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful for people, everyone listening knows one or both of us. I think most people do, and knows me as in listens to the podcast but that's something that I feel like I still navigate to this day. I think a lot of people know that I also really love deep and meaningful relationships with people and getting to know people's stories. I mean, that's the whole premise behind this. And so choosing how to allocate your time and how to invest in people, something that I have loved learning. And I think it just comes with age and time and how everything shakes out, honestly, is like, there are people who enter your life at a certain point and it's magical. And like, my favorite fortune cookie quote that I used to always share, that's not a fortune, but it's just in a fortune cookie, was said, a part of us remains wherever we've been. And that philosophy and that perspective has always landed really well with me, because I think there are so many people who have ebbed and flowed and like given to me and shared parts of them with me, and that has helped make me who I am. And I carry pieces of those folks with me all the time, and some of them have stayed active in my life, to different levels, and some of them haven't, and that's okay, because we are pouring into our core circles, and we're making space for new people and new energy, and we're sort of just like passing it from person to person. So I know that we've had conversations on the show, and I've had conversations with you about people who ebb and flow into our life, and I think it's really important to note that if there are people in your life that you want to be more active and present in your life, you can ask for it. And that's something that I've shared before. You could at least ask, and and maybe people will receive that and want that. That's happened to me multiple times in life, and it's meant a lot. And there are other people who, you know, you might just feel some of that distance, and you can say, it's like Marie Kondo, like, thank you for your contribution to my life, and I carry your energy and everything I learned from you, and I'm moving forward in the world. So, you know, I think I appreciate that you raised that, because as people who love meaningful connection, I think that is a challenge sometimes, and a judgment that I think some people place, like, wow, you have a lot of friends, or wow, like, how do you possibly? And it's like, I struggle with feeling overstretched, or I struggle with feeling alone in this world where people tell me that I have so many friends and loved ones, and I'm like, oh, today I have heard from no one, which is not anyone's fault. I mean, there are more dimensions to that, but the point is, yeah, everyone's got a different situation and setup. You know, some people have one person who is their best friend in the world and who fills them up, and that's special. Some people have a family member, a romantic partner, like, you know what I mean? We always talk about like the dynamics of how you build your support system, including yourself, can look so different. But I do know that that's something we have in common. So I appreciate you raising it as a challenge, because it's hard. So I hope that everyone can just think about how, yeah, everyone gives you a little something, and the degree to which they stay in your life, you know, it's okay that ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You know, that's at least what I'm trying to tell myself and work on.
I completely agree.
So the last one is a fun question that we're coming towards the end, which is so sad.
Having so much fun.
I know. So other people ask this as well, and I usually, you know, I ask this too. Where do you find inspiration for your creations, and yeah, what's been sort of your creative and comfort outlets lately?
Yeah, no, well, again, it's so interesting doing this during this time. You know,
Yeah.
I think that right now, being socially distant from everybody and watching everything on the news and seeing all that's going on, there's so much heartache and there's so much confusion and stress right now. But I've really been inspired, like I think I mentioned earlier, that humanity is showing up in ways right now that I think hasn't shown up in a long time. And I'm really right now currently inspired by those stories, those people.
Yeah.
You know, we hear a lot about the helpers, and we hear a lot about the people who are going above and beyond and just being creative in their own ways of how to connect with people. And that's just amazing. So I'm really inspired right now by what we're actually going through as a world. And you know, I'm trying to find ways to create exciting and special things that I can share that others can also share with their people. And that's because connection is, I'm pulling so much from that right now for my current inspiration. But I also just generally get so inspired by, like I said, I love a good quote. I love a good quote. I don't think I have a favorite. I want to like quote a favorite right now, but there's one, honestly, this is so sad, but I think I'm forgetting exact words, but it's Ralph Waldo Emerson. Shout out to amazing quotes by him. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. That was like my motto in college, and it still remains my motto. I think that's it's quite true. But I also have one actually that's above my bed. It's over there. And it says, a head full of fears has no space for dreams. And I think right now, that is something that I've really been, I've been kind of tapping into a lot, because with everything going on in the world right now, and with, you know, fear of just, you know, like I said, you know, when you compare yourself too much, or when you're, you know, kind of trying to navigate the next step in life, and it's, a lot of things can bring fear, but at the same time, like, you know, right now we have so much time to think and just be inspired and create and dream more. And I think, not to be super corny, but that's exactly who I am. So I guess I should just go with that. But yeah, I think that's something that I'm pulling from right now. But and colors and happy things. I just love, I'm inspired by happiness. I'm inspired by joy. I'm inspired by my friends, my family, my people.
Yeah.
And ice cream, honestly, too. Because whenever there's an ice cream nearby, you know good things are about to happen.
I know Renna and I, half of our text messages are like, what flavor ice cream?
Like, which one did you get? And
It's fine. Well, I wanted to, so before we close out with my favorite segment, we're going to do a little, I also like to ask my guests what they're doing for comfort, like what are you watching, reading, playing, whatever. And I wanted to also pose it to the chat box for people who are watching live. Tell us what you've been indulging in lately, and Renna, you tell us what have you been watching, reading, loving, anything like that.
I'm so excited.
What do you recommend or not?
Okay, I just finished, as we know, we have lots of time to binge over here, folks. So I've been binging I just binged Schitt's Creek. I just finished Schitt's Creek, and I'm not over, I'm still processing everything that is that show. But I also, has anyone ever watched, you ever watched Smash?
No.
Okay, it's like a adult Glee, basically, and and I love Glee. That's like a fave from, I think I binged that in college, but it's like a musical theater type of thing, and I just love a good musical theater show. But I binged that, and I love that. I'm listening to actually a lot of podcasts right now, besides Better Out Loud. Shout out that sorry, I get distracted by the questions. I'm trying to listen to a podcast about starting a business. So I have these, like, some people that I really admire in the hand lettering community.
Yes.
I have a podcast called Hobby to Biz, and it's all about creating a business through your passions and your hobbies. So that's been great. Yeah, I'm getting more into podcasts. I never was into podcasts before, but now I am. Should we read?
Yes. So some folks have been chiming in, trying to read classic novels that I never read in high school. That is great, and I've had that thought recently, but I haven't done it. Little Fires Everywhere has been very popular. I am going to annoy every loved one that I have because I've been like, oh, I'm going to read it first. I've read like a chapter every 3 days. Like, I'm dragging my feet, and it's not because it's not good, but I like won't watch the show until I finish reading it. So put some pressure on me, please. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just
I'm not going to pressure on you kindly, not going to pressure you. That's very aggressive. I'm so sorry. But I tried, okay, so Little Fires Everywhere. Yes, I have the book. We had a book club once that we tried to read it, and it just was hard. I think in the time that I was trying to read it, it was too hard. So I tried to read it, but now it's out. And I also love reading a book or reading a book that becomes a movie or a show, and just being able to like have your own perception and then being able to read. But I'm watching it. I caved. I'm watching it. I'm on episode 3, guys.
It's okay. You got everyone who's watching can talk to Renna about it, and I will tune in soon. Someone said going for walks. Those have been life-saving. And many trips to Jack Brown's. That is a fantastic idea. Unlocking Us by Brene Brown. Absolutely a favorite.
Oh, I don't know that one. I love Brene Brown.
Yeah, Brene Brown started a podcast. It's brilliant. Thank you for saying that. Ice cream. Oh, lots of books. Yes. Okay, Food Network. That's like a chapter of my life I've never explored. So I could use some really good inspiration. Animal Crossing. Yes, Money Heist. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm grateful for all of these. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, rewatching. Very good idea. Very good. Those who don't know, Kylie and I and our other roommate Courtney. Actually, you guys were the reason I got into that show. That was
this is my plug. If you are someone who's at home and watching a little bit more TV, if you've ever wanted to go back and watch a big series that was like super popular that you never watched, I will support you and I'll talk to you through. If it's Gilmore Girls, Grey's Anatomy, I'm biased with my list. I'm watching The West Wing from the beginning. Super fun. Just, TV used to be 22 episodes long, 45-minute episodes, and that can be intimidating, but now's the time.
Yeah, it is the time. Yeah. I'm about to have so many suggestions too.
I know. I'm going to go back and read all of these comments. I really appreciate everybody. Okay, so there's 2 exciting things left, and we should be done soon, which I'm sad about and dragging my feet on. But so one thing that we're going to do is Renna is going to do, I guess Renna's doing both of the last 2 things. Renna is going to read a letter out loud, which is part of what we do every episode on the show, where you get to read a letter out loud to anyone who is on your spirit, or there's a message that you'd like to share that you haven't. It could be to yourself, to another person, someone you talk to all the time, someone you don't talk to. It's sort of just to encourage that message that I shared at the beginning about, putting things into words that have been on your spirit. And then afterwards, we're gonna enjoy a special treat if you're able to stick around for a watercolor lettering sesh, mini, and Renna's gonna show you a little bit of her skills. And so for the watercolor part, so while Renna is gearing up to read her letter, this is another interactive piece for you. Renna's gonna make something out of some of the words that are most centering for us as a group and community today. So if you can think about one or two words that sort of capture what's been centering for you or grounding or what you've been trying to hold on to in any way. It doesn't have to be positive by any means. It could just be something that describes where you are right now. I think there's space for all of it. A couple of examples I thought about, like heavy or heaviness, for like the weight of right now. Healing is one that's on top for me, trying to take some time to keep leaning into healing and strength. So if you'd like, in the comments, yes, I see Joy and Wanderlust has already made its way in. Please feel free to drop some words in the chat. You can even explain them if you want. And we'll circle back to that in a minute. So Renna, I'm gonna turn it over to you for my favorite session of the episodes, Letter Out Loud. And feel free to introduce your letter in any way if you'd like. And then the floor is yours. Wait, I can't hear you, hold on. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I said thank you so much. I love this part of your podcast. It's always just so real and raw, and I appreciate it. So I'm grateful that you've had me on the show, of course, but also just giving me the space to share this. It's nerve-wracking, it's vulnerable, but I know that sometimes is the best way to just do it. So I will. So I wrote this letter to myself, my past self, and in trying to think of what and who I wanted to write to, it took me a long time because I was scared to do this. But I hope that reading it can inspire those who take from it whatever they need, I guess, and just show, where I've come from where I've been. So I'll get started. Dear me, I'll start by saying you would be so proud of how far you have come. Even if on most days you still feel like you have a long way to go, you would be amazed by the wildly different and important ways you have grown, changed, and persevered since those days of insecurity, confusion, and self-doubt. The days of hiding out in the bathroom stall, coming up with your best attempt at a comeback to shout back at the 5th grade bullies waiting in the hallway. The days you feared sitting in your 8th grade math class, anxiously waiting for those girls to whisper mean comments a little too loudly behind your back. The days of being mocked and teased, even in the most subtle of ways, for sporting your drama club merch quite proudly on opening night of the spring musical. The days of name-calling, former best friends choosing the other girls over you, and blaming yourself far too much. You poured all of your energy and time into trying to build connections with those who only ever made you feel like you weren't good, funny, or cool enough to fit in. You felt pressure to be invited and go to parties that made you feel popular, even though all you really wanted to do was get picked up, go home, eat some ice cream, and hang out with your parents. Do you remember how confused you were when you heard that you were too nice? Do you remember feeling that it was wrong to be too sensitive, too kind, or show too much emotion? I'm proud to report that today, these are some of the strongest qualities you have, and they make up exactly who you are at your core. It seems they always have. If only you could see yourself now. If only you knew that one day, all these years later, you would be surrounded by more kindness, love, support, and joy than your elementary, middle, and high school self could have ever imagined. If only you knew that you would be met with acceptance and a whole lot of self-worth that you discovered because you kept pushing past the hard stuff. You have formed the most honest, loving, irreplaceable friendships that you likely didn't even know were possible. You learned to trust yourself, love yourself, and ask for help when you needed it. You have learned to listen to your instincts, and you have learned that giving up is not an option. One of the hardest lessons you will come to learn is that friendships and relationships change. They grow in different directions, even if it seems impossible and heartbreaking as you long for what was, and sometimes, as disappointing as it is, they end. That doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you should have tried harder or done something different, or picked up the phone a few more times. It doesn't mean you should have mustered up the courage when you had the chance to stand up for yourself and stand up for the friendship that you cared about so much. It just means that friendships and relationships change. You are learning to forgive yourself for those lost and changed relationships. You are learning that you are simply doing the best you can, and it's not only your responsibility to make relationships work. Life happens, people move on, and you have to learn to take those lessons in stride, because you simply never know what incredible people are waiting to fill your cup back up. You have learned that being vulnerable is something to be proud of, and enduring all that hardship has only made you a stronger, better, and wiser version of yourself. In fact, it's put you on a career path that you love, one that is dedicated to lifting others up and helping those in the toughest of situations find their voice and keep moving forward. Do you remember making that decision on one of the hard days, sitting in the dean's office, who just happens to be a social worker, using all of his tissues, crying, and struggling to figure it all out, praying that you would? It's because of all of those collective moments, as challenging and difficult as they were to bear at the time, that you found yourself better, happier, stronger, exactly where you are today. You managed to hang on to the few childhood friendships that truly mattered. To those women, you know who you are. Thank you for being there after all these years, to remind me of my worth and for loving me through all of it, even if it's sometimes I couldn't see it for myself. Thank you for sticking with me on the days where I know I could have done better or been there more. Thank you for being constant lights in my life. You also finally managed to listen to your parents, finally, when they told you that you deserve better. To my family, especially my mom and dad. Words can never do justice to how much I love and appreciate you for being there in my lowest of lows, with your unwavering support, never judging the decisions that I made or telling me I told you so, but for letting me figure it out on my own, while still guiding me and reminding me of my worth every single day. You were and continue to be my saving grace, even when I don't know that I need it. I'm eternally grateful for you. Now for some more spoiler alerts. You still use theater, music, dance as a creative outlet to center yourself. You still belt Broadway show tunes shamelessly in the car, in the shower. You added painting and calligraphy to the mix, and now you run your own small business. You still dance around your room when you're happy, except now it's your big girl studio apartment. You still call your mom when you're sad. You still love writing and getting snail mail. You still love mint chocolate chip ice cream. You still talk to yourself and give yourself pep talks in the mirror when you need it most. You still pour love into your people and wear your heart on your sleeve. You are still proud of that. You are still kind and sensitive, and you no longer think that being too nice is a bad thing. You still remember the days you dealt with the bullies and cried, hoping for better. Surprise, it got better. You know your worth. You know the people and the friendships that are worth pouring your time, love, and energy into. That very much includes the beautiful relationship you have with yourself. You now know that it's about quality over quantity, and if you have to spread yourself too thin or try too hard, the relationship won't last, and you probably wouldn't want it to anyway. You have learned to appreciate yourself for exactly who you are, and you have only surrounded yourself with people who make you feel exactly the same. If only you could see yourself now, you would know that you will be more than all right. You will be amazed by the wildly different and important ways you have grown, changed, and persevered since those days of insecurity, confusion, and self-doubt. And while perhaps she has been a part of you all along, you will be so very proud of the woman you have become. Love me. Wow. That is,
Thank you.
thank you for giving me that space, because like I said, I struggled to find words to, put down, because so much of this is just, I think for everybody, so much is always in our heads, and it's hard to remember to let it out sometimes and talk about it. But
Yeah.
writing about that is just so cathartic and so helpful. And
Yeah.
thank
And
you.
I think, from everyone listening today, what's important is, you think about the people who pour out so much, and a big part of all of this is making sure you pour into yourself too. So I'm really grateful that you wrote to your past self, and that you could celebrate a lot of the beauty of now, knowing that there's still a lot of hardship and challenges too, but there's so much to celebrate and be proud of. And I'm proud of you and I love you. And a lot of people in your community I know feel the same way. So thank you for sharing that with us. I feel like I'm going to be, thinking on that quite a bit today for my reflective Sunday. So I appreciate it.
Space.
Yeah, and if anyone else feels moved, maybe a nice reflective activity for the day is to write a letter to your past self. And even literally reading things out loud has such an interesting impact. I like to read books out loud sometimes. And so think on that. That's your homework. So we're going to wind down. This always happens. My episodes are always like an hour and a half. I'm so sorry. But I wanted to say thank you to everybody who joined today. And I hope you'll be able to stay for our short demonstration of lettering. We don't want to wear Renna out by any means. She's done a lot of the heavy lifting today.
I literally will do this as soon as the camera's
out. But someone in the comments asked, how can we support both of you? And so I wanted to close with that thought before we transition. So what would be your answer to that, Renna? What would make you feel, support from your community?
I already feel it. I really do. I agree. There's not much more that I need. I feel like I have an incredible group of people who build me up every day and who I get inspired from and pull inspiration from those friendships. And I would just say, keep doing that. And I appreciate you all so much. I think those people know who they are who do that. But yeah, I don't feel like I need much more. I just need to hug my people. I would love a hug, but that's not allowed right now. So I really feel that way. I feel like I'm doing okay, and I'm grateful for the people that help me feel that way.
Well, I'll add, because you're too humble, but if you go to paintitforward.art, you can look at Renna's artwork. You could order something nice. It'll be great. I'll add the link.
Also, yeah, shameless plug, but thank you, Kylie. Also, yeah, better by the letter, holler. But I am coming up with a series soon that is really tied to the time we're in, and only that to say, I hope that it moves people, and I hope that I get joy out of people getting joy from what I create and what I'm able to create. So I hope that brings you joy. So I'm thinking soft launch Friday.
Soft launch, those are my favorite.
Kylie, that you just speak into the universe and it happens. So
it's the best advice I've ever gotten.
Just do that.
Okay, so thanks everyone. So as a reminder, if there's a word on your spirit or something that kind of has been providing you grounding or centering, you can add it in the comments, and Renna is going to use some of those words to make a little creation. Some that I've already seen trickle in include joy, wanderlust, kitty, smile, sleep. Those are sweet.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay.
I know. Hope, that's a beautiful one. Renna's making the transition beautifully to her phone so she can show you a desktop view. Some of the other things that are coming in, learning, snuggles, memories, family, okay, healing, and ancestors. I feel that one deeply. We got a lot of good stuff coming in. Gratitude, yeah.
Keep your comments coming, people, because I am figuring this out. It's gonna be great.
So Renna, muting.
I'm good. I'm just joining a different call. Thanks everyone for your patience.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, baby.
Woohoo! Okay. All right. Is this
It's fine.
I'm gonna just really quickly try to figure this. This is really backwards. Hold on. Is anyone getting sick? Because I feel like I am. Okay.
Yay. How beautiful that is. I just want y'all to know I asked Renna if she could make a little something like to help promote this, and now I want to like buy this piece and frame it and put it in my bedroom forever because I think it's the most beautiful thing.
That is this good, Kylie?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, you're ready to rock.
Oh my gosh, this is I feel like I'm in like a very strange.
So I don't want to overwhelm anybody with weird tech stuff, but I was going to say this could be nice to put on a little playlist, like some soft tunes in the background, set your own mood, and Renna's just going to do a little bit of sampling for y'all to see.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else you want to say, Ren, or like talk about this process, please feel free. But
I will say that this is something that I've started to do. Wait, I have to read the suggestions.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful ones. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that this started, so letter therapy kind of began from quarantine because I just needed some, is this all right?
Absolutely.
I just needed some, I just love like the feeling of being able to just create, and like I said, without any major pressure or deadline. And then doing videos just was so much fun. Like I just kind of learned how to like just speed them up because it's very long. But then I learned that watching it is really therapeutic. So it was great that it got to be kind of like a little exercise.
Yeah. I actually have no experience at all with watercolor. So I've started to learn calligraphy a little bit, but mostly just with like markers and pens. But I think your watercolor work is stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's so many wonderful ones. Thank you guys.
I know, you can choose a couple.
Oh, this is great. I'm trying to make this like word. It's like all those word bubbles that you.
I know. Yeah. So the one thing that's beautiful, if you haven't been to payitforward.art yet and seen some of Renna's work, what's really sweet is there are pre-made pieces that I love looking at, some quotes that may be familiar to you. But something that I really appreciate that Renna does is she's very timely. And so she will incorporate things that are happening in the world, at the moment, and issues that are happening that need some awareness. A lot of the times she's done proceeds, from particular, what would you call them, pieces, to contribute to some different organizations. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kylie.
Yeah.
I did a few pieces, kind of created this little, I guess you would call it, series that is going to be showing up in some ways. I can feel it. I'm just waiting to figure out what that way is, called Calligraphy for a Cause. And it actually, originally it just started from a few different causes or things that were happening in the world that just, I felt that were just heavy, it was just hard. And I wanted to find a way to connect with people and spread joy or spread some type of awareness, was something that I found was helping me cope. So I just imagined that something like that could be a great way to raise money for those causes while creating beautiful pieces for people to enjoy themselves. And so that's something that I was doing for a little bit. And the launch that I'm working on for hopefully soon is going to touch a little bit on that, and just kind of adding a little bit of relevant, a relevant cause or a relevant need for right now. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I'm sad that we can't talk about it quite yet because I'm excited.
I know. I feel like I want to say stuff, but then I'm like, nope. You guys, I just gotta figure it out.
So I don't want to overwhelm you with multitasking, but I know there's also space for folks to ask us a couple of remaining questions while Renna finishes this up. And I do have another one that someone submitted ahead of time that I wanted to ask. So someone asked, what is one thing you learned since starting your business that you didn't expect?
Ooh. Well, I think I touched a little bit on it before, but I really learned about the importance of community over competition and not comparing yourself. I think I didn't expect to compare myself, and I didn't expect to worry so much, I think, about that, because I was so like steadfast and like, this is my mission, this is what it is. But we're human, and that happens. And that was something that I kind of didn't expect. But in that same sense, I kind of learned how to turn those voices off and try to tap into my why. I also did not expect, I mean, the math, like the business and the actual like math, like sales, taxes, like, oh God, all those things that I'm still learning are a lot to learn, you know? Like, part of me was like, I just want to create stuff and give it to people. Like, why do I have to like balance a checkbook? Like, what's that? But no, I learned a lot about there are a lot of amazing podcasts and people out there who can help you understand a little more about like the actual details and like logistics about starting a business. And that came as a shock. Well, not a shock, but it came as a challenge, because there was a lot that I needed to learn. But I'm glad that I did, because every day I'm kind of learning more, and I'm so appreciative of all of it, because I need to learn it, and it's important to know.
Definitely.
So.
I echo that completely.
Yeah. What about you, Kylie?
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. Being, small business can be taken a lot of different ways, but being a one person sort of business, all of a sudden I'm like a tech person, and I know all this stuff about microphones and audio equipment. And again, this is all from like really helpful community members who, what I didn't expect, and I should have, is like how helpful and willing to help a lot of people in my life are. People who have different areas of expertise and are, willing to troubleshoot with me and to support me in these different roles that I'm having to take on. All of a sudden I'm a web designer. I mean, I'm not.
Yes, you are, Crittas.
I mean,
you are.
Not professionally, but and in addition to being an artist and a creator. So I think I didn't expect how much how much, of course. I mean, I did expect how much goes into creating something, but I think I've really loved reflecting on like what a long-term vision would be. And I have like different phases of my big picture project. And so I'm excited to have those little anchor touch points and things, but I really didn't expect, such just general support. A lot of my friends and family, of course, love me, but I think the way in which people are supporting, and, even today, like our friends and family joining in for a live podcast for us to just talk about probably a lot of stuff they already knew about us anyway, but just together in community, it does mean a lot. So I didn't expect the type of support that has definitely come out, and yeah, that means a lot. I've had a few people reach out to me, people that I don't really know, or who's a friend of a friend, say like, I listened to your podcast and I really appreciate it. And that, that touches my heart. Cause like I said at the beginning, I meant it when I said, even if one other person listens, like to me, that means so much. And the fact that, there's a little community, it's sweet. And so, I think for both of us, I know we're really expressive people and expressive through art. So it means a lot when it can be shared.
I completely agree. And can I actually touch on, I want to touch on how, like, the first time I heard about Better Out Loud, because that's a really important moment in our friendship. But also I'm just so proud of where this has come. And I can, what you were saying, echoing what you're saying about, you were kind of surprised by all the different people that tapped into this. I'm not at all surprised, but I don't think any of us are. But I know where this started, and I was there. I'd like to think that I was there when so we were going. I'll make it a short story because
I know. By the way, look at your artwork; it's beautiful.
I'm really loving this word bubble idea, which was Kylie's idea. Never wanted to be like, hey, maybe like one of those, like, because she, like, this is classic, like, working, I'm sure, like in higher ed with a bunch of PowerPoints all the time. Like, you just like make this word bubble of like beautiful words, and it's really fun. So thank you all for these amazing words.
Artist, it's beautiful.
No, this is the best. So Kylie and I were on the way to camping with a bunch of our college friends in September of this past year.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, I feel like that was forever ago, but well, it was. But we we were just talking about, Kylie was telling me this amazing idea. I knew about Better by the Letter. I was always like a fan, and that was a huge thing. But this story of like where, you know, you wanted to tap into this podcast, and you're pulling your inspiration from Abby and making it bigger than it was. And I just remember I was driving, and you were just like starting to spew all these amazing ideas that you were like word bubbling in your head. And I was just like, oh my God, like I honestly was like, I should pay attention to the road because I am getting far too excited to drive. But it was amazing. You started like spitballing all these like names, and then we were like screaming. I remember just like screaming like, Better Out Loud. You were like, Better Out Loud, Better. And I was like, yes, that. It was just like, if you just saw us, like, if I'm sure people saw us through their windows without any context, thought we were truly going insane, but like also having the time of our lives.
Yeah,
and
Renna created the Letter Out Loud segment. She didn't even know it. She came up with.
Did I do that?
You did. It was almost the name of the podcast, but.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But yeah.
But no, Crittas. Yes, but either way, it has turned into something. It's fun to watch too, because I can imagine, like, you know, for even Paying It Forward and for Better Out Loud, like, you know, your friends, like I mentioned like a little while ago, like who were there from the original start of it. Yeah. It's like pretty incredible to look back and be like, wow, how far this has come, you know? So it's pretty amazing. So for anyone wanting to start your own business, just do it, because you can do anything and it's possible. So
yeah, this is beautiful. So Crittas, this can be the last word. Everyone submitted so many beautiful things, but I don't want to hog people, you know, on their Sunday. So, or keep you, because I feel like I actually could watch you do this forever, and maybe once everyone logs off, we can just stay.
I will be painting this entire word bubble all day long.
Yeah. No, but so I'm gonna say some closing remarks. I usually encourage people, you know, if you're a first-time listener for Better Out Loud, it is available on all platforms, so please take a listen if you enjoyed it. Especially episode 1 is sort of the origin story, interviewed by one of my best friends, Ellie, who is listening today. Thanks, girl. And each story builds on itself, but you don't have to listen to them all. So that would be my action item. And then to make sure that you're following us so you can stay connected with our artwork. So I know Renna has a beautiful and interactive Instagram page at Paint It Forward.
Thank you.
That's it, right? Not Paint It Forward.
That's all it is, folks.
And then my podcast is Better_Out Loud. So stay connected with us. And I just want to say thanks for being here. It's so hard to feel a sense of connection and community. And it's really been hard for me to re-engage with the podcast. I love being able to interview people in person. And so that's been a huge barrier. And so, you know, thanks to Renna more than anyone for being willing to do this virtually and live in front of everybody. It's already such a vulnerable experience. So I couldn't picture anyone else that I could have been able to do this with. And I'm really grateful for you.
Thank you so much for having me here and creating such an inviting space. And I've loved it. It's been really special. So thank you so much. I'm so glad I finally got to be from the road trip to now, girlfriend. I am grateful.
It's beautiful. So a closing cheers to everybody. Look at your beautiful artwork.
Yes. Thank you all so much for your words and for participating. This was really, really wonderful and exciting to do. So, and I want to say also, because this is live and because I can say this, and it's, you know, thank you for listening and for being there and, you know, allowing me to open my heart in this space. I really, really appreciate it. And Kylie, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful.
Anytime, Crittas. Cheers to you, girl.
Cheers.
And everyone, take care. Stay safe.
Stay well, everybody. We can do it.
Bye.
Bye.